Hello, Shrunkle Spurt here, and for the past few days I've had this colourful wee bugger slapped on my bonce, the CMF Headphone Pro, which allegedly boasts a rather stunning 100-hour battery life, now packed to the tits with great features, but can be yours for just £79 or 99 euros/dollars, placing it firmly in the upper end of the bargain bin sector. So here's an unboxing review type situation on the CMF Headphone Pro, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do subscribe, ding that old notifications bell. Cheers! So firstly, what do you actually get stuffed in that box besides the headphones? Well, you've got yourself a handy quick start guide which helpfully explains the many controls. And you've also got yourself a 3.5mm to 3.5mm cable, and also a lovely wee soft protective carry pouch to slip your CMF Headphone Pro into when they're not slapped on your head. Now first up, I really like this light green model which stands out against the sea of boring black headphones out there. It's probably actually more of a sort of bluey green. I did actually think it was blue at first. Teal? Is that a kind of bluey green? But it's bright, it's bold, it's just jolly, isn't it? And it certainly attracted a few looks and raised eyebrows as I was merrily wending my way down the high street this weekend. Or maybe that was just because I was drinking scotch straight from the bottle at 11 AM. But hey, if you're not a fan of this finish, you can grab the CMF Headphone Pro in white or black. Boring. And you can actually change up that design on the fly to a degree, because these ear cups just twist right off. And then you can stick on a differently coloured pair, but of course that won't change up the colour of the headband or the rest of the headphones. But I overall certainly prefer the design of these CMF cans compared with the Nothing Headphone 1, which is just slightly too eccentric, even for me. They certainly feel nice and rugged, like you could put them through some serious punishment and they wouldn't just fall apart. The headband, of course, fully adjustable, just slides in and out, like usual. FNAF. And the branding, thankfully not too in your face. In fact, it's actually incredibly subtle compared with a lot of headphones. And naturally, you've got the old dot matrix L and R to let you know which way around they go, just in case you get confused. They're reasonably light at just 283 grams, and I certainly found that the CMF Headphone Pro comfortable to wear for hours at a time. You've got a generous amount of padding in those ear cups, doesn't feel like your head's been crushed or anything when you slap them on, and just enough padding up top as well so that hair deficient users such as myself don't feel like that band is biting into our naked scalps. No problem when you're wearing glasses or sunglasses at the same time as well, and if you want to dangle them around your neck. So it's going to bugger up my mic. As you can see, the cups do twist a full 90 degrees as well. And sadly, the headphones don't fold up any further for more compact storage, and they're not IP rated, although they seem absolutely fine in a light drizzle. I expect it would take a rather heavy downpour to cause any consternation, and minor quibbles at best is certainly at this price point. And Nothing has certainly stuffed plenty of physical controls onto the CMF Headphone Pro, although it's all nicely spaced out and quite intuitive. So for instance, here on the left cup, you've got your power on button, which you can also hold in order to get a bit of Bluetooth pairing on the go. Next to that, you've got the bass slider. You slide this up to the top and you will max out that bass, so you can shove it all the way down in order to muffle it. And it's actually called the Energy Slider, very 90s. But you can actually adjust it here in the Nothing X app, so you can have it tune the old treble instead of the bass. I didn't really use the Energy Slider very much at all. I thought it would have been more useful if you could use it to flip between a couple of different audio profiles, maybe bass heavy at the top and then treble at the bottom. Be quite handy if you all listen to a variety of different genres all crammed together on the same playlist, but it certainly does make a difference. You can clearly notice a lot more bass when you do ramp it all the way up to the top. And then over on the right cup, you've got the customisable action button, which by default, press of that will conjure up your smartphone assistant. But again, you can slightly customize this in the Nothing X app, have it cycle between the different ANC modes, turn on spatial audio, mute the mic, or do bugger all. Now you can do the same for a long press of that button, though by default it does nothing. And then lastly, around the back end of the right cup, you've got a wee roller. Now if you flick this upwards, this will bump the volume up on your smartphone. Flick it down again, it will chuck it down a bit. You can also push this in to pause your music and then push it again to resume it. And if you double tap it, then it will skip to the next track. And a triple tap and you will skip back, and it all seems to work perfectly fluidly. There's very little lag. Occasionally I'll do a double tap or something and accidentally also adjust the volume at the same time. It's just a consequence of having so much stuff mapped to a single physical thing. But certainly, got to say, very happy with the physical controls. As I say, even though there's a lot going on here, pretty much everything you could possibly need is mapped to some kind of button or slider or whatever. It all seems to work perfectly well, and it's all pretty intuitive. I got the hang of it in literally minutes. And despite coming in at a budget price point, you've got some pretty good dedicated noise cancellation slapped on here. And again, you can cycle between the different modes within the Nothing X app. As you can see, there are 3 different levels of noise cancelling: low, medium and high. Otherwise you can slap it on adaptive and it will adjust on the fly based on how noisy your environment is. And you can also use those physical controls to cycle between the ANC modes and the transparency mode, which actually pipes in everything that's going on around you, just in case somebody starts chatting at you or there's a sudden train announcement or something like that. I've got to say, I didn't notice much of a difference between the 3 different levels of ANC. High was maybe slightly more effective than low, but actually switching on ANC does make a difference when you're on a busy high street, lots of traffic going by you, you're on a train or a tube. Helps to muffle the worst of the rumble, all that nasty background clamour, so you can actually enjoy a podcast or an audiobook without having to ramp the volume all the way up. Of course, it doesn't do too much to drown out annoying small children. That's just a decibel level that's beyond most noise cancelling headphones, to be fair. Now, as for the actual audio quality, well, the CMF Headphone Pro uses 40mm drivers, possibly the same 40mm drivers that Nothing stuffed inside of its own Headphone 1. And these are fully high-res audio certified as well, although to take full advantage of that, you will want to plug in using the bundled wide cable. And if you do appreciate a bit of fine audio quality, if you dive into the device settings, you do have an LDAC mode which you can swap to. So as long as your smartphone or chosen streaming device also supports LDAC, you can enjoy some decent quality tunes. Even on good old Spotify now, which finally supports a bit of lossless. And of course, yes, jump on into that Nothing X app once again, and you've got a variety of different EQ settings. Got some custom efforts here: pop, rock, electronic, enhanced vocals, classical, and a custom one, where you can actually tweak the bass, the mids, and the trebles yourself. As you can see, they're all the way from -6 to +6. But for me, the highlight is certainly the personal sound profile. Absolutely get this on the go as soon as you slap the CMF Headphone Pro onto your bonce. And this is quite a simple hearing test. All it does is play a variety of tones at different pitches in first your left ear, then your right ear, and you just have to tap a button to say whether you can actually hear it or not. This then works out exactly how buggered your hearing is, and then it can help to boost the trebles or the bass, whichever part of the sound profile you're really struggling to hear. And as you can see, their result is a handy wee graph which tells you how your lugs have generally coped. And with this enabled, I've just found that music sounds so much better. It's more full-bodied sound, can pick up on some of those finer details that you would just miss on a lot of other headphones, especially, again, at this sub £100 price point. And while I wouldn't recommend these on a list of, headphones for audiophiles or anything like that, unless, you're a skint audiophile, which you probably are if you spent like 10 grand on a solid stereo, to be fair, I'm more than happy with the audio spaffage from these things. And yes, back in that Nothing X app, there is also a low lag mode which you can switch on, although this keeps turning off for me for some reason, not entirely sure why. And personally, I wasn't too bothered because even with that deactivated, the lag is minimal, really. When you're watching a bit of Netflix or something like that, you'll barely notice any discrepancy whatsoever. You have to really pay attention to notice any kind of lag at all. And gaming as well, I didn't have any issues with that. Maybe if you're good at gaming, you're one of those esports people, you might take issue with it, but for everyday folk, especially knackered old gets like me, all absolutely fine. And only a tiny bit of latency when I had these hooked up wirelessly to my MacBook for a bit of video editing as well. I was certainly perfectly capable of working that way, though yes, did prefer to slap in the old wires for that, just to make sure everything was synced up perfectly. You can connect the CMF Headphone Pro to 2 devices at once. You've got the option in the Nothing X app there. You do have to turn that on though. And then you can be working away on your laptop, and then if you get a phone call or something on your smartphone, you can quickly just swap to that without having to fiddle around in the app or press any buttons or anything. Oh, and you've also got that spatial audio shenanigans if you're into all of that bollocks. Personally, I'm not really fussed, but it seems to work. Now, the CMF Headphone Pro sports 3 HD mics, complete with a wind-resistant mesh and the usual algorithmic shenanigans to cut down environmental noise. So if you're trying to take a call when you're outside, you won't sound like you're stood in the middle of a wedding parade in typhoon season. And just to prove that point, I'm now blasting the sounds of an incredibly busy Indian traffic junction over my speakers, which are right next to my head to simulate being in quite a noisy environment. As you can hear, most of that guff is being muffled in the background there, and my voice is still coming through reasonably clear. And Nothing has stuffed a 720 mAh capacity battery inside of the CMF Headphone Pro, and Nothing reckons you'll get a full 100 hours of use from a 100% full charge of this thing. Sadly, that is cut in half if you are using noise cancellation. And then I noticed it is reduced even further if you are using LDAC as well. So actually from a full charge with ANC turned on the whole time and using that LDAC connection, you can expect more like 35, 36 hours of battery life. But hey, that's still a hell of a lot better than a lot of headphones out there, and certainly means if you're away all week on a work trip, hopefully you can just get them fully charged before you bugger off, and they'll still have some gas in the tank by the time you stagger back home at the end of it. And if you are about to head out and you realise, oh knackers, they're completely dead, well no worries, plug the CMF Headphone Pro in for about 5 to 10 minutes and you'll get roughly 3 hours of ANC action with LDAC switched on. Otherwise a full charge will take roughly 2 hours. And there you have it, my lovelies. That in a tasty wee nutshell is the fresh new CMF Headphone Pro. Now, I've got to say, for this price point, they're pretty stunning stuff. You've got that awesome DIY design, twist off the cups and slap on a fresh pair if you want to. I really like this sort of tealy, bluey green model. An impressive array of intuitive physical controls which are completely customizable via that Nothing X app. Got respectable noise cancellation, the personalised audio profile, and some pretty banging battery life too. So certainly if you're after a decent pair of cans on a budget for under 100 quid, I'd say absolutely go for it. So that's what I reckon anyway. It'd be great to hear your thoughts on the CMF Headphone Pro down below. Do you reckon they're even better than the Nothing Headphones 1? Because I got to say it personally, I do think I'd rather have these slapped on my head rather than those weird boxy gits. Yes, let us know your thoughts down below. Please do poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech, and have yourselves a ruddy, wonderful rest of the week. Cheers everybody, love you!